我们今天节目请到的两位嘉宾，绝对称得上是澳洲商界的传奇搭档。当年呢，正是他们联手创造了 A2 奶粉的中国神话，把一个濒临破产倒闭的小品牌打造成了市值超100亿的行业巨头。他们就是 A2 的前亚太区 CEO Peter Nanthan 以及前营销总监Mahi。在两人长达10余年的合作下，A2 不仅实现了扭亏为盈，年营收更是一路飙升，突破13亿澳元，成为了中国妈妈们最信赖的海外品牌之一。在离开 A2 之后，这两位老搭档如今选择再次集结，加入了澳洲上市公司ADNL， 开启了全新的创业征程。在今天的深度对话中，我们不仅将首次拆解 A2 成功背后最底层的商业逻辑，更会抽丝剥茧，带咱们看清下一个10年里澳洲婴幼儿奶粉行业的新变局。
Peter and Mahi, I'm so glad to have you joining my show. We're going to talk about lots of your history and your new journey starting from here. First question, start with Peter. So Peter, could you bring us back to 2007 when you first joined the A2 company? What would the company look like? What was the situation when you were in place?
So what happened is when I joined, the A2 brand was in existence. But it was actually losing a lot of money. So the brand, there was a very small brand which was started in New Zealand, which was in Australia in the form of a milk brand. That brand was losing a lot of money, and we believed at the time. So there was a guy called Jeff Babbage who was the CEO of Freedom Foods. I was with Freedom Foods as the GM. He said, look, I think we can actually make A2 work. So he then approached A2 and said, let's do a joint venture to relaunch the A2 brand in Australia. And I was responsible for that relaunch, which is the start of the journey. So therefore we relaunched the milk brand, new advertising, new packaging, new messaging. And from there, we established a very, very successful fresh milk brand, which was actually the most successful premium milk brand in the world, as it turned out. From there, we were able to leverage our launch of infant formula off the back of an extremely successful A2 milk brand.
What was the difficulty there? What's the challenge they were facing?
Sure. Well, the biggest challenge was the communication. It was a communication challenge. So what it meant was we couldn't make any hard and fast claims. There were no clinical trials, so therefore you couldn't make a claim about A2. So the question for a consumer was, well, what actually is the benefit of A2? We had to unlock that. That's what we did. We unlocked that issue, and we resolved that issue, and then we effectively communicated the brand, and particularly via PR, via advertising, via new packaging, all of the communication streams available to us. In addition, we managed to get very good distribution with the big chains, took out a lot of cost, and from there we developed a very successful brand.
Right. So when did you first meet Mahi?
So Mahi, I met was in
2013.
2013. So I recruited Mahi. At that time, we were launching infant formula into Australia, and I believed Mahi. And sometimes you make good choices, sometimes you don't. This was a very good choice. So recruited Mahi to effectively launch the brand infant formula in Australia, and that was the beginning of the relationship.
Right. Do you still remember what was the quality you see that Mahi has?
Yeah, look, Mahi was a very commercially minded marketing guy, so that was pretty rare. So he had he had a great breadth of experience. He wasn't just one of these. I sensed that he wasn't one of those guys who was just interested in meetings and speaking to agencies. He was one of these guys who would roll his sleeves up and understand all the detail. And from there, he was, and also given the fact that he had some very good experience in Asia, I sensed that he was he was the person that we needed, which I think was a very good choice.
Right. So Mahi, can you give us a bit about your background? I think you were living in Sri Lanka and then moved to Australia, right? What was your background?
Yeah, so I started my career in Sri Lanka. I'm Sri Lankan by origin, so I started my career in Sri Lanka. I started working for Fonterra in Sri Lanka. Fonterra is a big company in Sri Lanka. They have some very big brands like Anchor, which is the number one a leading brand with over 50% market share in Sri Lanka. And for Fonterra, Sri Lanka was the first consumer business which they started. So I was proud to be, in one of their startup companies in the world. And I worked there for 14 years in Sri Lanka and then moved over with Fonterra to Malaysia to look after their liquid and cultured business. I worked there for 2 years. And then from there, I moved to Australia again to work in the milk and the flavored business here. So while I was at Fonterra, I had different roles in both sales and marketing.
Do you still remember what was your first impression when you met Peter?
Oh, look, yeah, I mean, after Fonterra, I joined Danone for 2 years. I launched the brand called Activia in Australia. Activia is a very big yogurt brand for Danone around the world. So I was fortunate enough to join the startup company here for Danone and launch Activia. And then after 2 years working there, then I, thought I would move because it was travel was quite difficult for me from home to the Danone office. So then I decided, look, I need to start looking at an option. Then A2 came up, and my first impression was Peter was, I think he was kind of a straight to the point guy. Very, very, the questions he asked me was very commercial. And I also understood that he doesn't just talk, he's pretty hands-on, very detailed, a person I like to work with. So that's pretty much, I was pretty happy that Peter felt the same with me, and we clicked it on.
Starting with the Australian local market, I still remember one of your slogan, try fresh.
Feel the difference, or
Feel the difference.
Yep.
Yeah, feel the difference. How did you come up with that? What was the story back then?
What we wanted to do was, I think one of the keys to any success is you do what the other guy can't do, right? So therefore we developed a brand which was very unlike any other milk brand which was in existence. For example, at the time, all milk brands had blue packaging. They all had blue packaging. They all had humour in their media. So what we did is we went for a green packaging, which was all about the naturality, because part of the problem with A2 is no one understood what the feature was about. So A2 was a new concept, and it was very easy to get tempted to try to communicate the feature rather than the benefit. So what is the brand going to deliver for me as a consumer? So we focused on the benefit. So therefore, what we did is we used real people in our advertising, in our PR. So therefore, rather than use cows and farms, we asked real people, what has A2 done for you? And therefore, we were able to, in a testimonial format, communicate what you couldn't do in normal advertising. So it was very spontaneous, a spontaneous example from a consumer, or saying, this is what the brand has done for me. It makes me feel better. I was able to get in front of a camera at any time at the drop of a hat with the news media, and that was something the other guys couldn't do because they need a lot of sign off from head office in Singapore or in the US. We're able to be very nimble, so we were very fast, very nimble, very differentiated, and that was really the key to our success. Very lean as an organisation, so we had a very small, lean, flat structure. People knew what decisions they could make. And we empowered them to do so in a genuine manner, which enabled us to really get a fast start.
Was there a moment that you guys had this feeling, this message is really working and the market is really responding to the message? Was there such a moment like that?
Look, it was different for both for the fresh milk brand and different for the infant formula brand. But for the fresh milk brand, it was probably only about 12 months after we launched that it was very clear that we had something which was really cutting through and engaging the consumer in a pretty unique manner. We're getting massive increases in sales volume, and we're getting enormous PR, enormous consumer satisfaction, and also we were attracting the opposition of our competitors. They were very worried, and so they were trying to kill us. Everyone was trying to kill us. So basically said you're either, they were trying to make out we were crazy guys, and then they were trying to make out we were dishonest guys. But everyone was trying to kill us, and we thrived on that. We loved that.
Before that, the company was losing money for several years already.
It was losing money. The business model was wrong. Then once we started to get traction in Australia, everything changed, and the business took off. And then from there, the question was, what product category are we going to launch into? Was it going to be infant? Was it going to be ice cream? Was it going to be cheese? Was it going to be yogurt? Because there was a view that, you had this beautiful, unique proposition at that time that was surrounded by some patent protection. The strategic question was, what markets do we play in? What product categories do we play in? Because it was almost like an open book. So are we going to play in all countries in the world? We're going to go to Europe. We're going to go to the US. We're going to launch cheese, ice cream, UHT, flavoured milk, infant formula. There were some very big strategic questions. So there's a lot of internal discussion, a lot of argument.
Right.
Because effectively no one knew. And look, not everything we did was successful. Some product launches weren't successful. But what we learned to do was to fail fast, right? So if something wasn't working, you get out. You don't make out that it's successful and continue to lose money. So we failed fast, didn't get too precious about that, moved on to something which we believe was going to be effective. And what ultimately was our success, of course, was infant formula into China. That was the thing that really resonated.
What makes you decide to move into the milk formula sector?
We did a lot of consumer research. I did the first consumer research in China itself, which was way back in, I think it was about 2010 or something like that. So we did focus groups in China, and we found that the brand was resonating particularly well. There was also, at that time, as most of your listeners would appreciate, wasn't too long after the Malmine scare. So there were some brands that were getting, a couple of brands that were getting significant traction from Australia, particularly Bellamy's at that time. It really was only Bellamy's, but there was also some vitamin brands with Swiss and Blackmores, etc. as well. So there was that whole dimension of product from Australia and New Zealand into China, which was getting an enormous traction with some brands, at least, not all, as we've discussed. But that certainly gave us a view that there was an opportunity. The market size is massive, circa $20 billion, big margin. So there was certainly a lot to like about that type of market entry.
How did A2 first enter the Chinese market? Like, I know there were some daigous buying just from shelves from Woolworths and Chemist Warehouse. And then I think there are more like professional daigous and distributors came in to the market. What was the whole picture? What was the process?
We did discover that we were getting enormous traction from Daigo sales. And then from there, it was a case of figuring out how to manage this, because effectively the Daigo channel was new. So no one globally really had any understanding of how to manage this channel.
How did you realize there is a Daigo group? Was it that the manager from Woolworths telling you that your products were selling fast, you better give me more?
From the launch, I think we launched 2013. Around August, I think our launch was. And till about a year, the sales were very, very little, because at that point, there was a new product launch of A2 Platinum. Not many people knew about it. It was sold into one retailer, which was Coles, and Chemist Warehouse, and also the Chemist Warehouse. And then for about a year, the sales were not very much. So I think only after about 10, 11 or 12 months, we can remember it started to slowly pick up in the retail channels. Then we saw from our scan sales that the sales were slowly picking up. At that point, we also had a couple of the bigger daigos who were doing vitamins, Bellamy's, Aptamil products. They started approaching us and wanting to buy product from us. That's the time we started meeting these larger wholesale daigos who wanted our products. So that at that point, we knew, there is a bit of interest in our brand and there's traction in our brand. And then from there, we realized that we didn't actually work with a lot of these wholesalers. We worked with only one or two initially. Then our retail sales started really taking off. And then we realized these Chinese consumers are going into the retail outlets and buying because they are finding our product quite interesting.
I still remember the crazy time. There's so many local like Chinese living in Australia, like moving product from Australian shelves to China. Like, even around me, and I think at least 10 friends were doing daigers around that. I think that's one of the best way for those overseas students and local Chinese to make some money. I think that was a great time.
Oh, they're amazing times. But the other really critical thing we didn't mention is we had to work out who we wanted to partner with in the Daigo space. And we quickly figured out that everyone said that they had amazing connections in China. Right? So I used to say that there would always be a line from here to Burke Street, so to speak, of people who wanted to buy our product. We sold to very few. The number one was AZ Global. AZ had, with Andy, had by far and away the most expertise, and the best market knowledge. Therefore, we decided he was going to be our main partner, and that was a very good choice. So he was by far and away stood up as the Daigo with the most market expertise.
Right.
And we had to learn that because initially we had few wholesalers who came in. Andy was not there at that point, but we realized quite quickly who were the genuine players who had channels and who were just the others who were just, opportunistically wholesaling. And we figured that out quite quickly because we were working with few number of key guys, and then we managed them. It's about managing them, who you want to work with and who you want to leave out and who you want to actually support.
That China is a very dynamic market. Like lots of things change very quickly. I believe to work in a Chinese partner or selling product to China, on the management side, you must have to adopt many changes yourself. I've been working with some Australian local companies as well. So I know some of their decision-making process were really slow. Like even a small decision, they have to go through the board and maybe take a month or 2 months to make a final decision. But if you're in that process to work with China, I think it's really easy to fail because the China changes really fast.
Yeah, look, and that's a very good point. So I think we prided ourselves, Mahi, on quick decision making.
Of course.
So that was one of the major strengths. So Mahi would effectively say, "Why don't we do this?" And then if he didn't have the authority to make the call, he'd ask me, and I'd make the call instantly.
Yeah.
Right. So, and we knew what information we needed to support it. If we didn't have that, then we'd work on our instincts. And our commercial instincts, and most of the time we got that right. So we were very, very fast with making big decisions.
Today, do you still think that's a must-have mentality to work with China?
That's the way we work now, probably even more so, because Mahi's got authority. If he doesn't have the authority, or he needs some further support, he can call me as the chairman. We can just do it. So there's no limitations.
Yeah,
no restrictions. So we're very fast.
And also, I think we are probably faster than previously because currently we have a whole vertical integration which we are controlling, farms to cows to manufacturing. So any pivoting of any strategy we can quickly do much faster than even A2 previously.
Yeah, I've heard that if your channel partner call you at 3 a.m. in the morning, you will pick up the phone.
Of course, I used to pick up the phone. Yeah, of course, and used to call me 3 a.m., 4 a.m. I didn't get compensated for that, unfortunately, but I did work hard.
Now the new company ADNL, we have 2 major brands.
Yes, so we've got Future, which was launched just a year ago in May last year. And then this brand, Ocean Road Dairies, has been a brand has been there for about 2 or 3 years with us.
So, what are the biggest difference between Ocean Road and Future Organic?
All of them are made with organic A2 milk, but some of the important nutrients like DHA, ARA in Future is much higher, at the much higher level, on the top levels, because we want to make sure that's a more premium product. Whereas the A2 protein, which is the blue can, that's made with organic A2 milk, but rest of the ingredients which goes into it is not organic. So that's competing in a non-organic segment.
A few weeks ago, I realized somebody on Chinese social media and saying the Future brand is a fake Australian brand, not from Australia. How do you guys respond to that?
Well, look, it's clearly a ridiculous accusation. If any consumer wanted to come down and have a look at our factory, they're more than welcome. So that's an absurd proposition. We 100% Australian cows, 100% Australian processing, Australian listed, Australian assets. Look, I think it's quite sad that someone would stoop to those levels. It's just clearly a ridiculous proposition.
Yeah, look, we're happy for anyone to come and have a look at our assets here, the farms, the factory, how it's made. We can take them around and show. It is in Victoria, so we can physically show them that. And also we've got a webpage which pretty much tells about our company, our listings, our annual reports, our brands, everything is there. So if anyone wants to go and check, it's information available.
And also it's, to Mahi's point, given the fact that we're listed in Australia, we've got to be very careful about the claims that we make. So yeah, we go through a lot of compliance in terms of our reporting compliance to the market, given the fact that we're a public listed company. So for us to then, if we were then making false claims, our competitors would, for a start, prosecute, and then ASIC would prosecute. That's the regulator. The ASX would prosecute. So clearly, there's a lot of there's a lot of governance requirements which makes to ensure that we are making correct claims, which clearly we are.
I think when I look at that post, I think she said she went to the Woolworths near her home and she didn't find our product on the shelves.
We do sell through some large pharmacy retailers. We've deliberately decided not to go through Woolworths at this time. The Woolworths, we don't have the inventory to ship to all of the Woolworths supermarkets.
Woolworth doesn't always range the best product. Some of the best products, unfortunately, don't sometimes make it to the shelf.
Look, a very good example is Maxi Jeans. So Maxi Jeans is an adult milk powder which is Australian-based, which is not sold in Coles and Woolies, which has a very, very strong market penetration in China. Very, very big brand.
And I think they've followed a very clever strategy, in my view. And it's a very high-quality product which is not sold in the key retailers. Not necessarily doesn't mean that, Australian consumers don't want it. I mean, they can't get it through retailers, but it's a very high-quality product.
What does it take to make a good baby formula? In your point of view, what is a good baby formula?
Really good question. First of all, obviously, if you do have a product made out of Australia, you've got the benefit of the Fazance code. So you've got a product which is very well formulated. That stands to reason. Then you've got to ask yourself, do you want a product which has got A2 protein, or do you want a product which has got A1 protein? All cows used to produce just the A2 protein. There was then a genetic mutation which occurred where farms wanted to produce cows which produced more volume. A lot of those cows had a mutated protein which was A1. Now, a lot of consumers have found that the digestive benefit is very strong when they use milk which contains the original milk protein, which is the A2 protein. And there's a lot of digestive benefits, and there's a lot of studies also in autoimmune issues as well. So first of all, yes, you want the A2 protein. Secondly, you want cows from what we say are the best and cleanest pastures in the world. Again, it stands to reason. Do you want to have milk powder from cows which have been in a factory farm, or do you want cows which breed the best air in the world? As humans, we want to breed the best air in the world, right? We want to be treated well, so why wouldn't we want the same for our cows? On fresh pasture, fresh air, point 2. Point 3, we go back to the once dried, twice dried. Really important because you get so much more bioactive benefit with the once dried than the twice dried. And as I said again, as adults, do we want to be eating food which is which has been dried many times and then we reheat it? No, we want fresh food. We obviously want the same for our babies. Then on top of that, as Mahi indicated, with the HMOs, we have a very well formulated proposition as well to add to those other massive differentiations.
And also, I think, answering a question, I think the quality of ingredients is quite important when you're choosing. And that's what we say, our brand, we can guarantee that from from the farm to the factory, within 40 minutes, the milk is delivered.
Yep.
And we convert that immediately to base powder, which goes into infant formula. So our product is probably one of the most freshest ones you can ever get. And we try to source most of our materials or ingredients from Australia as much as possible where we can find it. So if you look at our cans, on the back of it, you can say what percentage of Australian ingredients. Ours is fairly high compared to a lot of other brands in the market, Australian made. So a mom who's wanting to choose a high quality brand, they need to look at the ingredients, what's coming from, where it's coming from, with how it is made. Like Peter just said, once dried, single dried is much better than double dried because you have more bioactive ingredients, nutrients available for absorption. And the freshness is much great for a brand like ours, which is from milk to can, it's pretty fast, whereas most of the others, the powder can be sitting there for up to 24 months and then you can it and you've got another 24 months. So you could be consuming a product which is 3.5, 4 years old sometimes.
For those audience who don't really understand what is the single dry process, can you use the easiest way to explain it?
Yeah, single dry process is basically what happens in a regular way of making infant formula. Most of the brands do this. What they do is they bring in milk. They first convert that into powder and either whole or skim milk powder, and they store that milk powder for a long period of time. Some of them store it for a long period of time. So when they're making infant formula, what they do is they basically call upon those whole and skim milk powder, which they have already made, and they recombine that with, again, milk and other ingredients, and then convert that into the infant formula base powder. So most of the powder is actually being dried twice. So it's already dried, kept in storage, and then they brought back, recombined, and dried again. So that means you're basically using some nutrient content and the bioactivity on the stored product because you're heating it up twice. Whereas our process is we do everything as a single process where fresh milk comes, we make that into infant formula base powder straight away.
So is this a single dry process? Is a recent concept?
Not many companies are doing it because we can do it because we are vertically integrated. Because we got our farm, we can call upon the milk when we want it, and our factory is very close to the farm, and we can make it work. Whereas a lot of the bigger manufacturers and who don't have this vertical integration, it'll be quite difficult for them to do that because unless you have full control of everything, it makes it very challenging.
But we're unaware of any other English label brands that single dried. We believe, given the experience we've had with A2, with an outstanding success, we believe very firmly that we can do it again with ADNL, and we're demonstrating that at the moment.
And I think we pride. Our brand, Future, and our company, Australian Dairy Nutritionals, is one of the few. I think it's probably the only one, which is an AXS listed Australian company manufacturing infant formula, and it's quite unique because if you look at all the others, either they're owned by, like you said, another parent company back in China or another country, where ours is everything is assets are here, farms are here, brand is here, and we are very, very, proud that we are manufacturing here for Australia and New Zealand standard, a very, very high quality infant formula, which even the Chinese mothers can access now. The product which the consumer gets in China, it's directly coming from our company. Because the way we work is we basically send product from here to the free trade zone, and from there it directly goes to the consumer. And the mechanism what we have put in place is the consumer can order their requirements through an app, and straight away the order comes to our partners and they ship it straight away. So that's what I talked about, this whole thing about the secure channel is very important for consumers to make sure that they're getting the right product, authentic product, and there's no chance for any fake products or anything copy products to come through to them. And this whole mechanism was developed, I think, with about 10 years of knowledge, 10 to 12 years of knowledge with Andy. He developed this mechanism, and all the resellers, when I say resellers, our partners there in China are representatives of the ADNL company. They're not they don't buy product and they keep it and then sell it. They basically just recommend to their customers, and the product goes directly from the free trade zone to the end consumer. So no one really touches the product. So it comes from us, sits in the warehouse, and goes to the end consumer. And this is a very unique mechanism because what I'm saying is the other intermediaries don't really need to have actually any investments or any risk of having product in their store and not selling it. Basically, they don't. When the order comes, they basically sell it. That's it. And the consumer, we can ensure they get the freshest product all the time.
So who can actually join this M2C channel?
Look, currently we are putting this through the mom and baby stores in China. And for example, there are posters in particular mom and baby stores. If a consumer comes in, they can scan the QR code and order our products through the app. And all the reps in the mom and baby stores, they become our sales agents who will directly work with ADNL and just promote and get their commissions. So for the consumer, it's a very easy process. They go into the store. Either they ask the store owner to help them to order it, or they can order it themselves and get the product delivered.
Can those Daigos who used to live in Australia, they're still looking for a job, can they still join the M2C?
Look, they can. I think there are a process which is being put in place. But everybody will have to work through this app to order the products, because what we want is make sure that the consumers are getting the authentic product, and they're following the rules which are set out in making sure that the value chain is there, and also the tax implication, everything is made sure that all those taxes are paid properly. Because one of the biggest problems previously was this whole thing around the Daigos not paying tax. I mean, they were commercially doing, some of these Daigos were commercial Daigos, but they were not paying tax. So this model pretty much eliminates all of that and makes it legal.
And it gives the most sustainable long-term model for Daigos to participate in and make money because it's tax compliant, because it's through the app. So that's what we wanted to provide a model which gives sustainability.
Last 3 questions for our podcast. If a mother is living in China, is listening to this podcast today, and she's considering trying your product, what would you like to say to her?
I would like to say you're buying one of the highest quality products, which is manufactured to Australia, very high Australia, New Zealand standard. You're getting a product which is made with very high quality ingredients and processed as a single dried mechanism, which is very unique in manufacturing infant formula, so that the nutrients are bioactive and the child can absorb more nutrients. And you've got a very high quality, high standard product. Either you want an organic A2 product or a non-organic A2 product, we are giving you the options to buy. And you're buying it through a channel which is very reliable, so that you can make sure that you're getting a very authentic product coming to you in the quickest possible time.
I would say, if added to what Mahi said, if you're a Chinese mother, you want an A2 product, you want an English label product sourced from Australia and New Zealand, then why wouldn't you want a product which is fresh? Would you want to feed yourself a product which is dried twice? No. So therefore you'll want a single dried product. The only one that ticks all three of those boxes is Future. That's what you should be buying.
Right. So the second question, if someone is considering joining the M2C model after listening to this podcast, what would you like to say to them?
What I like to say is you're joining this a very sustainable way of being profitable. You're getting very high quality, authentic products. You have absolutely no risk. You bring in your customers and market to them, and we will look after the rest. You joining this M2C model. So for you, it's pretty much all the infrastructure is provided. All you need to do is sit there and make money.
The M2C app provides you as a MBS store owner the most commercially attractive, the best way to make money. You don't have to hold any inventory. You've got a tax compliant system. You've got a sustainable model. You've got a very unique brand. It's your opportunity to really capitalize on that and make some decent money as a retailer, which you deserve.
Mm.
And also one additional thing I like to add is that we are not looking at this on a short term. So if you come to this, it's you're making margins on the long-term basis. You're not making for a short while and not the rest of the time. You're having actually opportunity to make decent margins on a long-term basis. That's the model.
And you're protected as well because we're not going to be cutting your margin. We're going to be focusing on your channel. You're not going to have competitors coming out and undercutting you.
One more thing is the other thing is we as a company have decided that the way we want to distribute our brand is through this model and not support the main online mechanisms, because I think or we've decided that this is a much more powerful, sustainable model for us to use for our brands.
If a Chinese investor is listening this podcast today, and they're looking into your listing company AHF, what would you like to say to them?
What I like to say is, if you have missed out on A2 at the early stages, don't miss out on this one.
Okay, well said.
Yeah, so look, we're a very undervalued company at the moment. We have a unique brand proposition, unique route to market. So therefore, we're engaging with the largest infant formula category in the world, and we've got some board and management which have an outstanding track record. So you put all that together, it makes it a very, very compelling investment.
好了，以上就是本期节目的全部内容。如果你还想进一步了解 ADNL 的相关信息，或者呢是希望参与到全新的 M2C 模式之中，都欢迎随时与我们深度交流。我是澳洲商业观察的亮，投资澳洲先看澳洲商业观察。